right, it is 6 o'clock. Let's go ahead and get started. Welcome everyone to the City of Desert Hot Springs regular meeting of the Planning Commission, Tuesday, December 14th, 2021 at 6 p.m. via Zoom. We apologize for the change. We had a little bit of a COVID outbreak at City Hall, so we had to move to Zoom meeting to adapt. At this time, I'd like to call the meeting to order. May we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Grant?
Present.
Commissioner Merhoffen?
Here.
Commissioner Nindell?
Present.
Vice Chair Duffel?
Present.
Chairman Griffith is absent.
Okay. Commissioner Merhoffen, would you be so kind as to lead us in the pledge this evening? I believe you're still muted, Mr. Merhoffen.
Okay, I'll get it together here.
Thank you, sir.
We stand and we have a flag. Repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation under God, indivisible, and justice for all. I don't know if everybody heard me or was with me or not.
Thank you, Commissioner Merhoffen. We did hear you. I appreciate that. May we have an approval of the agenda, please? We had an opportunity to look over the agenda. Would anyone like to make a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll make the motion to approve the agenda.
Okay, we have a motion from Commissioner Grant. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Second from Commissioner Nindell. Can we get a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Grant?
Aye.
Commissioner Merhoffen?
Yes.
Commissioner Nindell?
Yes.
Vice Chair Duffel?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Fantastic. Next, we have the meeting minutes for the Planning Commission regular meeting, November 9th, 2021. Is there a motion to approve as they stand or corrected?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, we have a motion from Commissioner Nindell. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second from Commissioner Merhoffen. Can we get a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Grant?
Aye.
Commissioner Merhoffen?
Yes.
Commissioner Nindell?
Yes.
Vice Chair Duffel?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
At this time, pursuant to the Brown Act, any persons may comment on the matters of general interest within the subject matter jurisdiction of the Planning Commission not listed on the agenda. I would like to open the public comments now. Do we have any public comments?
We have various people on Zoom. Sharon Missildine for general public comments, Colleen Scully for general public comments, and we have one more, Michael Platt. I'm not sure if they want to speak on a specific item or general comments.
Okay, and I'm sorry, can you give me the first name again?
The first person, Sharon Missildine.
Sharon Missildine. Okay, Miss Missildine, this is you're live on the Planning Commission meeting. We are doing public comments for items that do not pertain to anything on tonight's agenda. Would you please state your name and location of residence for the record?
It does not appear that Miss Missildine is on Zoom any longer.
Okay, we'll go ahead and move on to the next. We will check back with her later.
Next person is Colleen Scully.
Hello, Miss Scully. Miss Scully, are you there? Okay.
It appears she's there, but she's muted. Miss Scully, are you there? If you can hear us, please unmute yourself.
I'm trying to unmute. Can you hear me?
There we go. Yes, we can hear you,
Oh,
Miss.
I'm
Very
sorry. And actually, I didn't have any questions when I signed in. It wouldn't let me proceed without leaving that box checked. So I apologize. I have no questions.
Very good. Thank you so much. We appreciate you.
Next is Francisco Padilla, and I believe he just wanted to listen. So there is no comment from him. And there appears to be one more person, Michael Platt.
Mr. Platt, are you there, sir? Mr. Platt, are you available, sir?
Yes, I am, and I did not have any comment. Following it, same thing it required me.
Fantastic. Thank you, sir. We appreciate you being here this evening.
And that is all for general public comments. We have 2 additional people, but on items number 3 and 4.
Fantastic. If the rest of the commission is okay with this, we'll round back to public comments at the end of the meeting.
Yes, I am, and I did not have any comment.
If we can pick up the first 2 folks that were unable to speak. So we'll go ahead and cover public comments again at the end. At this time, I will go ahead and close the public comments. And we are on item number 2, the first public hearing, Snider Interest LLC, amendment to existing cultivation facility 13310, Little Morongo Road, conditional use permit 21-17. Can we get a staff report, please?
Yes, good evening, Mr. Vice Chairman, fellow planning commissioners. This item is conditional use permit 21-17, and I do have a brief PowerPoint presentation. I'd like to share my screen here real quick. Can you guys see it?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Yes, so Snider Interest LLC, conditional use permit 21-17. And here's the location. I went out there like about a week ago. It's at 13310 Little Morongo Road. This picture is where the proposed new change will go. And on the next slide, here's a little bit of a background of it. So on November 17th, 2015, the City Council approved the original project, conditional use permit 0215, and certified the mitigated negative declaration. The original project proposed development in 3 phases with 3 buildings total. Each building has a head house attached to a greenhouse at approximately 69,000 square feet each on this 14.4 acres of land. The first 2 buildings and phases have been completed and are currently operational. Here for discussion in sections 5.50 and 17.160 of the Desert Hot Springs Municipal Code allows for cannabis cultivation facilities in industrial districts subject to a conditional use permit approved by the Planning Commission or administratively and a regulatory permit approved by the city manager. The applicant, Snider Interest LLC, has filed an application to amend CUP 0215 to allow the 3rd phase to change from a 69,000 square foot single-story building to 2 2-story attached cannabis cultivation buildings totaling 136,174 square feet within the Morongo Business Park. To continue on that a little, you'll see the site is located on the east side of Little Morongo Road at Cranshire Road, which is a few hundred feet north of 2 Bunch Palms Trail and is within the light industrial zone. The proposed buildings are to be concrete tilt-up construction for cannabis cultivation, processing, and distribution. There were 90 parking stalls approved with the original CUP, and this proposal will add 100 new parking stalls. And if you look at the site plan, it's essentially the same footprint, just changing out the building to 2 stories. And you could see just north of the retention basin there is where the additional parking is going to be going, proposed to be going. I have the elevations. Here's so it's building 3A and building 3B. 3A is the west, 3B is the east. Here's the southern exterior, the western exterior, followed by the northern exterior, and then the east, which will be on 3B, will be the same. That's that shared wall. So obviously there's nothing there on that part of it. 3B, here's the east, all the way to the east. South, here's the west, that's the shared wall, and then you'll see the north. We have some perspectives here as well. North, and this is, so for building 3A, you'll see the north, the south, and then that would be the east. And then on building 3B, north, wait, the other one would be west, then east, and then south on the bottom. And for the landscape plan, it's all drought tolerant native plants that have been doing well at the other projects that have these same ones approved. The frontage on Little Morongo Road is already completed. So I know most of this will be, as you see, back to the rear and on the sides. And for the environmental analysis, won't read this whole slide, but as you know, when the original M&D was adopted, that set it into play to being, you know, it's done, it's good. But when they had to change this, there was an addendum but was required by the city and by CEQA guidelines, and it does not recommend approval or denial of the proposed modifications of the previous project. The conclusion of the addendum is that the proposed changes to the project will neither result in new significant impacts nor substantially increase the severity of previously disclosed impacts beyond those already identified in the previously adopted M&D, and therefore a subsequent M&D was not required. Now, it's staff's recommendation that the Planning Commission approve conditional use permit 21-17 to change phase 3 from a single-story, 69,000 square foot building to two-story attached cultivation buildings totaling 136,174 square feet within the Morongo Business Park located at 13310 Little Morongo Road. Now, I'm available for any questions, and I know the applicant is here as well. That concludes my report.
Thank you for that. At this time, we will entertain questions of staff from the Planning Commission. I have one real quick before I turn it over to others, just to get out of the way real quick. On your parking, you mentioned the original was 90 parking spaces. This new modification allows for an additional 100 parking spaces. So is that a total of 190 parking spaces, or is that a total of 100 parking spaces?
Yes, sir. No, this is 100 additional, and doing the calculations for, you know, the warehousing is 1 per 2,500 square feet, and for the distribution processing is 1 for 250. So rounding up, as we do when it comes to this, it was actually required to have 80 additional for all of this extra square footage. So there's 20 extra. So more parking is good.
Fantastic. That was my one question. And since for now, and since we're doing this via Zoom, I'm going to do things a little bit differently. Instead of asking for hand raises, if you don't mind, I will go down the list of commissioners. If you have any questions of staff, now would be the time. Commissioner Grant, would you like to start things off? Do you have any questions of staff?
At this time.
Okay. Commissioner Merhoffen, do you have any questions of staff?
Yes. You mentioned the word proposed 100 additional 100 parking spaces. What does
Yes,
that mean exactly? Proposed? Is it going to be there or not?
No, only if it approved. If you guys approve it, it'll be there. If it's not approved, that's how I don't want to just take for granted it's approved or anything. You know, we got to go through it and make sure everything's good.
Okay. My next question is the landscape design. You said most of what you're showing is going to be in the back and on the side.
Yes, if you've been by the property before, I know quite recently, maybe a few months ago, I was out there another time. I had seen that they did finally get the landscaping in for the front. So this is generally going to be for the back.
So it's out of the view of the, and I'm asking for a specific reason here. I think we got too many plants going on. We're wasting too much water. So it's just going to be a suggestion. And I'm not trying to change the applicant's plan. I'm just making a suggestion here that we're in a water shortage, and I'm seeing this plan here I'm looking at now where you could take maybe an area and put a couple little chairs and a table, a little concrete, save some water. There's plants there.
Common areas? You
could put a rock there, and a decorated rock instead of a couple of the plants that I noticed out in the front. And since it's not in the view of the public going by, unless the applicant really wants all that foliage. Now, I like all the trees, keep all the trees.
Yeah.
They give you the shade, save the water for a product you can grow that you can enjoy under the tree. So, the trees are great. I like all the trees, keep the trees, but the rest of this ground cover, I think we're getting a little carried away with all of it. So that was my only questions on this project.
And that's an excellent point, and this is the landscape plan that was given to us, put before us. But if you want to condition it to, you could also ask the applicant who's here as well. And if you guys made that a condition, we would definitely be open to that.
No,
Mr. Commissioner Mayorhoff, if you
I don't
don't
think it has to be a condition, does it? I mean, nobody's going around to check later on down the road anyway.
We actually do.
yeah,
If the applicant wants to do that, I don't see why
can-
there would be a problem and why we need to make it a condition.
all right, Commissioner Mayorhoff, if you'd like, when we open the public testimony and take testimony from the applicant, I'd like to come back to you first to talk to the applicant if you'd like.
That's a great suggestion. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you, Commissioner Mayorhoff. And Commissioner Nindell, do you have anything for staff?
Not right now, no.
Okay, fantastic. At this time, we will open the public hearing and take testimony from the applicant. Do we have the applicant available?
Yes, I'm here. Can everybody hear me? I'm David
Yes,
sir.
Snider.
Yes, we can. Can you please state your name for the record?
Okay, yes, my name is David Snider. I'm the developer of the site there over on 13310 Little Morongo Road. And so this is our proposed change to the conditional use permit. And I think Mr. McKay said it perfectly well, what we are doing. And we're basically just doubling the footprint of the building, and then we're adding quite a bit more parking just to be on the safe side. We've gone above and beyond what is required by code. But other than that, it's basically just adding a second story on the building. So we viewed it as a somewhat minimal change to what was originally approved. So other than the additional story, there really is no change.
Fantastic. Thank you, Mr. Snider. Please stick around. I'm sure we're going to have some questions for you.
Sure.
At this time, if any commissioners have questions for the applicant, we will go ahead and do that. Commissioner Mayorhoff, I promised you we'd start with you. So if you'd like to start off, we're all ears.
Mr. Snyder, I'm sure you heard my comments about the landscaping, so I'll go ahead and leave the decision to you as to what you'd like to.
Well, Mr. McKay was correct. They do actually go and verify each plant. So once the plan is approved and then it moves to the next department, they correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. McKay, but there really isn't that much discretion. I mean, I agree with you because we are in a desert environment, because there are enough plants out there, and I don't like to waste water either. I certainly would be open to re-looking at the landscaping plan if the city were, or the people in the planning department were interested in re-looking at it and trying to maybe minimize some of it, because I agree with you. I think these plans sometimes go overboard in terms of what's required. So I think it's a good idea, and if you could make it a condition of this approval that we do reconfer with the planning with the people in the planning department. Or I don't know really what the mechanism would be. Maybe Mr. McKay would be able to tell you, but I can tell you we would certainly be open to minimizing the additional landscaping that's on there now.
I was going to say thank you
Maybe
very
the
much.
best thing maybe to do, excuse me.
I was going to say thank you very much, Mr. Snider, and I was going to ask you, Commissioner Mayorhoff, if you had any more questions.
Perhaps what we need to do is get together with the city staff, see where we want to go with the landscaping. And at that time, the city staff can get a hold of Mr. Snider and see if there needs to be something changed that he would like to. I don't know, Vice Chair Duffel, if you need to make that a condition now or later, or. But that's
Well,
fine.
I think the city staff, I think it's good to get direction from the planning commission regarding this issue from the city staff, because I think the city staff probably generally thinks more is better.
Let's go ahead and continue here with the next questions, and we will go ahead and cross that bridge when we get to it. When we get to the point where we're through the public comments and ready to discuss amongst the commission and possibly make motions.
Okay.
For right now, Commissioner Merhoffen, did you have any other questions for the applicant currently?
No, sir. Thank you.
Commissioner Merhoffen. Commissioner Grant, do you have any questions for the applicant?
No, not at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Grant. Commissioner Nindell.
No, thank you.
All right, no questions for the applicant. So, Mr. Snider, if you'd like to remain here for just a moment, we're going to go ahead and take public testimony. At this time, we would like to take public testimony for those in favor. Do we have anyone in queue in favor of the project?
We have someone on Zoom who would like to comment on this item. Barbara Eastman, is that what you are looking for?
Yes. Barbara Eastman, are you there, ma'am? You may have to unmute your microphone. Miss Eastman?
I see her on Zoom, but she's not unmuting.
Okay, we'll give her a couple of seconds. Miss Eastman, if you can hear me, your microphone is muted. We are on item number 2 on the agenda, Snider Interests LLC, and you have registered for public comments on this item.
I'm sorry, she requested to speak on item number 3. Are we on number 2?
We are on number 2, Snider Interests LLC.
Okay, then maybe we should wait until number 3. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any other public comments or public testimony on this item? Okay, since
there's no public testimony on this item.
Thank you. Since there is no public testimony, I guess there's nothing for Mr. Snider to rebut. So at this time, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing and have Planning Commission discussion and questions of staff. Let's go ahead and start off with Commissioner Merhoffen. We are at that point where we're discussing with each other what we want to do and possibly making a motion. If you have any other questions of staff or you have anything you'd like to talk about on this item, that's where we're at.
Thank you for clarifying that. I do have a question of the staff, whichever staff member would be best suited for this question. Rather than to go through all these landscape ideas here on every agenda item tonight, I think it's best perhaps if we got the city and city management and council and figure out just how much we're going to cut back. And at that time, perhaps you can notify all the rest of the applicants that have already been approved that there's some kind of zoning change within the landscaping, and then everybody can get on board with what's going on at that time.
Commissioner Merhoffen, I hear what you're saying and definitely agree with some of your comments. Right now, what we're looking at though is this particular development, not all of them. And
So
what we would
make a motion for this particular one tonight is what you're saying.
we're working on this one
Okay,
individually.
for tonight. All right. Okay. All right, but my question was directed to city staff, so maybe cities might want to ask city staff.
Is there with staff that question?
If I may, really quickly, it sounds like Commissioner Meyerhoffen may want to have some future dialogue with respect to landscaping requirements in general within the city, and we're happy to have that discussion. As it relates to this particular project, we would just need some direction from the Planning Commission on how to handle the landscaping for this project, and then maybe have a broader discussion with respect to landscaping in general. I will speak candidly from the perspective of staff. We have worked very closely actually with the applicant, Mr. Snider, on his previous project. He has just recently completed the landscaping at the front of the project. And I will say that landscaping at this site has been challenging in general. So the previous project was approved with the landscaping, and I believe staff brought this item forward consistent with the previous landscaping plan, which is what is before you tonight. So we would just need some direction from Planning Commission on how to move forward.
And can I add something to Mr. Vice Chair? Just real
yes.
quick, we do have a, currently the city follows the Coachella Valley plant palette that actually is water drought tolerant. You also have to follow the Mission Springs Water District plant count that actually only allows a certain amount of plants to be planted and certain amount of sprinklers to be used, drip systems, sprinklers, whatsoever. We also are in a completely no grass or certain amount of grass per every development. We've followed that for quite some time now. It is available, and this project and every project consultants, they come up with a landscape plan for the project based on those standards. Based on that standard, that's the project that's reviewed. We would gladly review that and maybe set our own individual standard for certain zones that could definitely be set in the future, maybe more specific into this is the only plants we want to see. We can definitely do it. I know that this project was approved in 2015, and they can correct me if I'm wrong. And those were the standards that were approved during that time about being water drought tolerant plants and drought tolerant sprinkler system as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Porres. Any other questions currently, Commissioner Meyerhoffen?
No.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Grant, questions of staff or comments that or discussion with Planning Commission?
Not at this time.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Grant. Commissioner Nindell?
Nothing at this time.
Okay, with that being said, I'll take a moment. I've looked over this project thoroughly. I do understand Commissioner Meyerhoffen's concerns with water usage. Water is a vital resource in the desert. It's our #1 most vital resource in the desert. So I do understand where he's coming from. And I also understand what staff has explained about having certain palettes and certain guidelines with different entities within the city that we follow to make sure that we're not overusing our precious resource. With that being said, at this time, staff's recommendation is to approve a 2-story attached cultivation building totaling 136,174 square feet to replace the already approved 69,000 square foot building for Phase 3, Building 3 in the Morongo Business Park located at 13310 Little Morongo Road. At this time, I would like to entertain a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to approve it.
Okay, we have a motion to approve by Commissioner Meyerhoffen. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
A second by Commissioner Nindell. May we have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Grant?
Aye.
Commissioner Meyerhoffen?
Yes.
Commissioner Nindell?
Yes.
Vice Chair Duffel?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Very good. Congratulations, Mr. Snider. Moving on to item number 3, GHA Prices Incorporated, Rancho Descanso Specific Plan 121-952, Amendment SP 21-3, Development Permit DP 21-18, and Tentative Track Map 38200, TM 21-5, an application to amend and develop 76 new single-family homes within the Aventura Palms 2 specific plan. Can I get a staff report, please?
Yes, thank you. The project site is located at the southwest corner of Avenida Descanso and Camino Campesino, within the formerly known Aventura Palms Specific Plan 2. Shown here is the overall site plan, which include the development of 76 new single-family homes, a 0.25 acre common open space park, and a 0.55 acre dual-use on-site retention basin. The architectural plan for the new single-family homes will have a desert contemporary Mediterranean design utilizing a stucco exterior finishes with an accent trim clay roof tile and a hip and gable style roofing. Each model also has a reverse plan and options for a 2 or 3 car garage with optional gated courtyards. The wall and fencing plan include the project's perimeter block walls to be at 6 feet with 7-foot high pilasters along the north and east street frontages. The walls within the front will not exceed 4 feet in height, with the return walls not exceeding 6 feet for the residential homes. The project entry will set the tone as an upscale residential community featuring desertscape plantings. A decorative wrought iron vehicle entry and pedestrian gate will transition into the project. All gates will be equipped with knockbox for emergency access for public safety. The model homes, as shown here, will be on lots 5, 7, and 8, with lot 6 being the temporary parking. The construction phasing plan has been designed to minimize construction traffic conflicts with the sales traffic leading to the model homes and temporary parking area. Shown here is a proposed tentative tract map, which will be to subdivide the 17.83 acre parcel into 76 residential lots. In accordance with the provisions of CEQA, an initial study has been prepared, which has determined that the development of the proposed project will not have a significant impact on the environment with the implementation of mitigation measures. The draft MND has been circulated with the open comment period starting on October 19, 2021 and ended on November 18, 2021. With that said, this is for consideration that the Planning Commission make a recommendation to the City Council for approval of 1, adopt the mitigated negative declaration. 2, approve Rancho Descanso Specific Plan Amendment number 21-3, amending the Aventura Palms 2. 3, approve a development permit number 21-18. And 4, approve a tentative tract map number 38200. And 5, approve an ordinance adding chapter 17.240. That concludes my report. I'm available if you have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Patricia, for the staff report. I greatly appreciate it. I do have one quick question on this item. We are making a decision on 5 different items pertaining to the same development, correct?
That is correct. This is for a recommendation to City Council.
A recommendation to the City Council. Fantastic. Thank you very much for that. At this time, we will entertain questions of staff from the Planning Commission. We'll go ahead and do the round robin like we have been. I will start off with Commissioner Merhoffen.
If we're gonna recommend this to the council, we'll just let them go ahead and deal with it. No, I don't see any problems there. I like the different choices of all the houses that the people will have when they come. 3-car garage, I think that's wonderful if people want it, especially if somebody collects motorcycles or cars. And the project looks like a nice one. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Merhoffen. Commissioner Grant, do you have any questions of staff?
Not at this time. I'm reviewing an ordinance.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Grant. I'll come back to you in just a moment. Commissioner Nindell, do you have any questions for staff?
No, I don't.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. At this time, we'll go ahead and open the public hearing and take testimony from the applicant if the applicant is present.
Yes, can you hear me? This is Mario Gonzalez.
Yes, Mr. Gonzalez, we can hear you. Thank you.
Yes, good evening. Mario Gonzalez, 30875 Date Palm Drive, Cathedral City, California, 92234. On behalf of GHA Rancho Descanso LLC, I am the applicant. And first of all, I'd like to thank staff for their hard work over the past 6 months. We're the same developer just completing the Agua Dulce project, and this is a better version of that project over in this area of the city. And like to thank the staff immensely. They've been very, very gracious to work with. They've called some meetings. We've had from fire, from planning, from engineering, from building department, look preliminarily at the project, and we've addressed all the concerns. And I'd like to thank Patricia for her presentation. I think she hit all the highlights. We're looking forward to bringing this project forth. I appreciate Commissioners Meyerhoff's comments. There is a lot of flexibility in the plans. The 3-car garage, the 5 bedrooms that we offer seem to be a very attractive component to the homes that we're building. The project is gated, and we're excited to bring it forth. We have reviewed the conditions. We agree with the conditions. And I do have on the phone for any type of questions specifically, I have our project manager, Leslie Stiles, on the phone or the Zoom call here with us, and our project engineer, Joel Irwin from High Tech Engineering, and John Chris from Terra Nova Environmental and Planning. So if there's any specific questions you guys may have, we would be happy to address it. And we concur with staff that we hope that you recommend our project, and I will be available for any questions if you have. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gonzalez. Don't run away. We may need you. Let's go ahead and ask the commission if there's any questions of Mr. Gonzalez while we are here. We'll start off with Commissioner Meyerhoffen. I'm sorry, Commissioner Meyerhoffen, do you have any questions for the applicant? Thank you very much.
No comment.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Meyerhoffen. Commissioner Grant, any questions for the applicant?
No, not at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Grant. Commissioner Nindell.
Just one, and I think I already know the answer to this, but I want to make sure. In your plans, there will be no vinyl fencing or walls visible from the street?
Yes, great question, Commissioner. We will be using all block walls, CMU block walls throughout the community. We are proposing to enhance the block walls on our boundaries that face Camp Encino and Avenida Descanso with an enhanced wall, and then interior will be using CMU block walls throughout the entire project, and we will not be using any vinyl.
Okay, and my only other question is, when you finish this entire development, will you leave behind an HOA for the owners?
Yes, great question, Commissioner. We will be setting up a homeowner association, so the project will be governed by a homeowner association, very typical of gated communities, and hopefully we'll leave it in great shape, and there'll be assignment of various committees and so forth to maintain what we put there. But yes, it will be governed by a commission, by a HOA association, and right now I believe that our build out HOA fees are under $150 for the gates and all the common area.
Okay, that's all.
Thank you, Mr. Nindell. Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez. Again, Mr. Gonzalez, don't go away yet. We've got the public comments open. We may need you again, so hang tight for just a moment. At this time, we'd like to take public testimony for those in favor of the project.
I have Barbara Eastman who would like to speak on this item. I will unmute.
Thank you, Ms. Eastman. Welcome this evening. Please state your name for the record.
Good evening, is Barbara Eastman. Can you hear me?
Yes, Ms. Eastman. Thank you very much. Thank you for joining.
Sorry we couldn't be there tonight. The weather was really bad.
Oh, that's okay. We had to move to Zoom.
I know. I'm glad because it's warmer here where I'm sitting. Anyway, we're not against the project at all. We're at Vista, Montana, which is right next door to the project going in. I think some of our questions from our residents are about the street and the entrance of the project. I understand they're putting a street in, which would be to the south of us, because the entrance is not going to be off of Palm Drive. Is that correct?
When we get, when we're done with the public comments, Ms. Eastman, we'll give the applicant an opportunity to answer any questions that he may have heard.
Okay, then I will wait.
Okay, was that your only question this evening, Ms. Eastman?
Yes.
Fantastic. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate you. Do we have any other public comments or testimony from those in favor, opposed, or neutral?
That is the only person we have on Zoom that would like to speak on this item. We do have another person, but I'm not sure if they want to speak on this item or another one. Michael Platt.
I believe Mr. Platt mentioned earlier that he was just here to view, but he had to select an option. But if we could take a moment and check with him to verify that before we continue on back to the applicant, I would greatly appreciate it.
Mr. Platt, if you'd like to speak, please unmute yourself.
I believe Mr. Platt mentioned earlier that he was just here to view, but he had to select an option. But if we could take a moment and check with him to verify that before we continue on back to the applicant, I would greatly appreciate it.
I am here.
Mr. Platt, if you'd like to speak, please unmute yourself.
I should be unmuted right now, and I am here in favor of the project with Mission Springs Water District. So that's about it.
Fantastic. Mr. Platt, was there anything you'd like to verify?
Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, with no more public comments, we'll go ahead and give the applicant an opportunity to answer any questions that he may have heard that he'd like to answer.
Yes, thank you, Vice Chair. Mrs. Eastman, to answer your question, if I think I heard you correctly, your question was that we will not be entering the project from Palm Drive, and that would be correct. We are not. We do not own the land between Palm Drive and our property. There's about 300 feet or so between us and Palm Drive. So our main entrance will be off of the newly improved Camino Campesino to the north, and yes, that would be to the south of the Vista Montana property.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gonzalez. Is there anything that you'd like to add before we close the public hearing?
No, except if there's any other questions, we're here, we're excited. And again, it's a real pleasure working with a very progressive city. Doria and Daniel at this do a phenomenal job, and we're excited to bring this investment into Desert Hot Springs and create some more fantastic housing opportunities.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gonzalez. At this time, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing, and we will take Planning Commission discussion and questions of staff. I'm going to go ahead and continue like I've been doing throughout the evening. We'll go ahead and start off with Commissioner Merhoffen. Is there anything that you'd like to ask of staff or any discussion you would like to have with the rest of the commission on this project?
Before I get myself in trouble, I live right down the street, so I need to get clarification from staff on the distance I need to be before I can no longer vote on this.
If I may, so it would be 300 feet. I'm sorry, 500 feet for FPPC rules, and actually, if you're in 1,000 feet under SPPC rules as well, you would have had to have recused yourself at the very beginning. Not only the rule is if you have an real estate economic conflict of interest, you would actually have to recuse yourself at the very beginning of the item and not just for the vote. That said, I don't know how many feet the project is from Mr. Meyerhoffen, from Commissioner Meyerhoffen.
I'm okay, and I thought I better get myself out of hot water if I was heading there. I do realize I need to do it in the beginning, but I'm farther away than 1,000 feet.
Fantastic. Thank you very much.
Of course.
Commissioner Merhoffen, I appreciate it. Do you have any other questions, Commissioner Merhoff and the staff, or any comments that you'd like to make to the commission? Any discussion with the commission?
No, thank you.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Merhoff. Commissioner Grant.
Not at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Grant. Commissioner Nindell.
No, thank you.
All right, thank you very much. At this time, we have a recommendation that the Planning Commission approve a resolution of the Planning Commission recommending that the City Council of the City of Desert Hot Springs, California, 1, adopt the mitigated negative declaration, 2, approve Rancho Descanso specific plan amendment number SP21-3, amending the Aventura Palms 2 specific plan in the city. 3, approve a development permit number 21-18. 4, approve tentative trap map number 38200. And number 5, approve an ordinance adding chapter 17.240. May I call for a vote, please? Or a motion? May I call for a motion, please?
I'll make the motion. Do I need to read all 5 of those out to make that motion?
If you'd like to make the motion as
Approve. Yes. I'd like to make a motion to approve staff's recommendation.
We have a motion on the table. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
All right, we have a second from Commissioner Endell. Is there any discussion from the commissioners?
No.
Seeing none, can we get a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Grant,
Aye.
Commissioner Merhoffen,
Yes,
Commissioner Nindell,
Yes.
Vice Chair Duffel.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you very much. Before we continue on to item number 4, I'd like to ask.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez. Congratulations.
Thank you. Have a great evening. I appreciate it. Thank you.
I'd like to ask the commission if anybody needs to take a short break to maybe visit the restroom. Okay, fantastic. It is 6:47 right now. Let's go ahead and recess the meeting until 7 o'clock. we have a few seconds left before 7 o'clock before we resume. Is everyone back? I see Commissioner Merhoffen. I see Commissioner Nendel. I see Doria. I see Jennifer, our city attorney.
You see me? I can't see myself.
Commissioner Grant is there. Fantastic. All right, it is 7 o'clock. We are on item number 4. Let's see here. Item number 4, General Plan Amendment number 21-2, Zone Change number 21-1, Zoning Ordinance Amendment number 21-2, and adoption of a General Plan Update EIR Addendum. May I have a staff report, please?
Yes, thank you, Vice Chair and members of the Planning Commission. This item in front of you tonight, General Plan Amendment number 21-2, Zone Change number 21-1, Zoning Ordinance Amendment number 21-2, and General Plan Update EIR Addendum. This is the applications in front of you tonight, and I'm going to give you a little bit of background on these items in front of you. If you recall, on May 26, 2020, the city adopted its new General Plan Update EIR. With that, the land use map and the zoning map were also updated and approved at the time. With that action, there were 6 parcels that had unintended outcomes because of the city's general plan update on May of 2020. The parcel numbers on this slide are the parcels that had unintended outcomes, and I will show you maps of where these parcels are located. These parcels have conflicting land use and zoning designations and or plans for existing use expansions from the property owners. One of the parcels currently has a dual zoning designation, and that's the last parcel on the slide. The purpose of this zoning map is to show you where those parcels are located citywide. The stars that you see here, 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 and here are those parcel numbers. And again, the purpose of this is to show the Planning Commission where those parcels are located throughout the city. Now I will go on and show you each individual parcel, the existing zoning designation, and what is being proposed. This one in front of you is APN 641042047.
I apologize for interrupting, sir, but your slides do not appear to be advancing.
How about now? No?
There we go.
Can you see them now?
Yes.
We're looking at APN 641042047 World Gym parking lot right now, I believe.
That is correct. So let me back up then a little bit to show you the citywide zoning map. And I am going to reiterate what I said about where those parcels are located in the citywide zoning map. These stars here are representing those APN numbers that you see on the slide. So with that, I'm going to proceed with the presentation, and the APN number that I talked about is the first one on that list of APN numbers. So currently, the property, this one right here, is zoned residential medium, and the proposal is to change it to DC, downtown commercial, to be consistent with current uses and general plan designation of commercial. This is the World Gym on Palm Drive and Acoma. The parcel behind it is being used for parking. And as you know, the residential medium does not allow for parking on the current zoning. So what is being proposed is to change that parcel to be consistent with what's on the World Gym site. Again, this is what is being proposed, and that is downtown commercial, and this is what is existing. I'm going to proceed to the next parcel, the next APN, and that APN on the screen is today being used for an auto repair shop. This is what is existing, again, multifamily residential, and that is on Flora Street, just west of Palm Drive. This existing auto repair shop has actually been operating since May of 2017. It is, again, currently zoned as residential medium and is being proposed to be changed to mixed-use corridor, again, to be consistent with the existing use and to have that use be an approved use on the current parcel. I'm going to proceed to the next parcel, and that is APN 641091025, and that is the AMPM ARCO location. This is where the ARCO is located at the corner of Granada and Palm. The business owner of the ARCO actually planned to expand the building to add square footage to the convenience store. He acquired this parcel, again, being multifamily residential. The expansion wouldn't be consistent with the plans that the business owner has to expand the AMPM ARCO building. The pumps are located here. There is no intention to add additional pumps on this parcel, but on the existing fueling stations. The building, again, is what he's proposing to expand to add additional square footage. Again, this is existing multifamily residential. This is what is being proposed with these applications, and that will allow for that expansion of the ARCO AMPM gas station. With that, I will proceed to the next parcel. And this one here is a parcel number 656150003, excuse me. And this is a proposed resource spa by the current property owner. This is what is the existing zoning, single-family residential. Again, single-family residential does not allow for a proposed resort or spa, and that's what we are proposing for the Planning Commission to recommend approval. What that will do, it will change the zoning designation to BSC, which then it will allow the property owner who actually submitted an application for a resort and a spa. The next APN on the screen is currently vacant industrial land. This is what is existing. This is what the industrial zoning designation is. The property owner came to us and asked if we could consider doing the zone change and land use designation to this property that he owns because he has plans to do an industrial project on the property. Again, the change will be to change the RRD, existing zoning designation, to the proposed industrial land use for a future industrial project. And the last parcel here is currently vacant industrial land, which has a SUAL zoning designation, and that is APN 666370032. As you can see, this is what is existing. This is one parcel, and it has a dual designation. The north portion of the parcel being industrial, and this portion of the parcel being business park. What is being proposed is to be consistent with what's in the surrounding surrounding land uses to the east and the top portion to the west. And this is being proposed for industrial land. This is because there may be an interest in developing this land for an industrial use. With the future expansion or new construction of any of the 6 sites that I described, they will have to meet the new land use for any proposed new uses. They will have to comply with new zoning designations should this be approved by the City Council with your recommendation. They will have to comply with development standards, such as new maximum number of stories and building heights for industrial land. There has to be a specific site environmental document. In other words, the environmental document that was prepared for these applications in front of you tonight does not cover any future proposed expansions of existing buildings or any future new development that may occur on any of those 6 parcels. Then they will have to comply with new applicable conditions of approval. Again, each new site, property owners or business owners will have to submit an application for development, and that application will come in from the Planning Commission for your consideration. There will have to be specific site improvements, such as curb, gutter, sidewalks, and streets, and any other improvements that are necessary for future development on any of those 6 parcels. And obviously, after they go through the entitlement process, they will have to obtain the appropriate building permits to be able to build on those parcels. As far as the environmental, and one of the items in front of you is to recommend again that the City Council adopt the General Plan Update EIR and the addendum that was prepared for these items in front of you tonight. And that is essentially what the environmental assessment slide is saying in front of you. But in a nutshell, that is what the environmental process was for this project. With that, staff is recommending that the Planning Commission make a recommendation to the City Council to approve the General Plan Amendment number 21-2, Zone Change number 21-1, and Zoning Ordinance Amendment 21-1, and adoption of a General Plan Update EIR Addendum, including a resolution that is attached to the staff report. That concludes staff's presentation, and we'll be happy to answer any questions that the Commission may have. I think you're muted, Mr. Vice Chair, you're muted.
Thank you very much, Mr. Carrillo. I appreciate your presentation. I have one quick question for clarification for the rest of the commission before we continue on to other questions. And that is, tonight we're looking at zoning designation changes, not actual developments, correct?
That is correct. In addition to the zoning designation changes, you're also looking at the land use designation changes so that the zoning code, the zoning map, and the land use map are concurrent with each other. And that's what you are going to be looking at tonight. And you are correct. No new development or expansions of any existing uses on the properties.
Thank you very much, Mr. Carrillo. With that question being answered, I'm going to entertain questions of staff from the Planning Commission. Mr. Carrillo, can we get you to go ahead and stop sharing your screen, please?
Let me see how I can do that.
No problem.
Well, share.
If you just scroll to the top where you see the green, it says you're viewing one. If you just scroll to the top.
Stop share. There we go. Did that work?
Yes.
Thank
you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Carrillo. It's hard getting back to these Zoom meetings.
Need more practice.
We've gotten comfortable back on the dais, makes things a little difficult. So excuse us, folks, for our technical difficulties as we try and plug away here. At this time, we'll go ahead and entertain questions of staff from the Planning Commission. Commissioner Merhoffen, do you have any questions of staff?
Can you see me? I can't see myself for some reason.
No, Commissioner Merhoffen, we have a black screen, but we can hear you.
We'll figure that out later. Yes, I have a question there. I saw on this here, I believe, you don't have to show, but I think it was page page 3, where it read, the proposed zoning ordinance amendment structure height, maximum feet, 5 stories, 120 feet. Are you familiar with that, Mr. Carrillo?
Would you allow me to answer that question now, sir?
Yes, please. I mean, how high are we going here?
Sure. The zoning ordinance amendment is for the development standards on table 17.16.01. As you indicated, that's on page 3 of your staff report. Currently, the structure height and maximum feet for the industrial zoning designation is for 2 stories or 50 feet. What we are proposing to you for your consideration to the City Council is that be changed to a maximum of 5 stories and 120 feet high for the structures. This is because we are anticipating some industrial development coming in front of you. And again, as I mentioned before, once we get those applications in and processed, we will be bringing this back to you for your review and consideration. But you are correct, sir. That is the table that we are recommending to be changed.
And Mr. Vice Chair, can I maybe add a little bit more to that? we in general, this entire item is a cleanup. We had our general plan update last year. We moved through it, and obviously we found that there were some lots that were actually already in use or operation and were zoning correctly. There were also some requests that were submitted to the city that weren't taken into account when we did the final map. So we're calling this a cleanup, and it really is a cleanup where we have those 6 lots that either had a project in place, are potentially going to move forward with the project, or are already operating as a completely different use. They also had projects that were already contemplating going into the 5 stories, as Mr. Correa was explaining. We have a potential, and we have a lot of different developers that have asked that question, and that was supposed to be complicated in the general plan. Unfortunately, it wasn't as well. So we've been telling everyone that has been the case, even though it hasn't. So this is an entire cleanup, saying, hey, we've had the general plan, now we're cleaning it up and making it now uniform for development that we've already not promised, but we already discussed and proposed that is coming to the city. So hopefully that maybe clears up a little bit too, Mr. Councilmember. I'm sorry, Commissioner.
Can I also say one thing, if possible? I also want to say this is the start of some other cleanup items that you guys are going to see come forward. As a matter of fact, there's 2 other items tonight that are cleanup from the general plan update. And I think it's important for you all to understand that and be prepared, because I anticipate there will likely be more moving forward. I don't want to say anything disparaging against the consultant that did the general plan update, because it was a big process. It was a lot of work, but it is inevitable that when you go through those processes that are that big, that you are going to have some of these cleanup items. So this is one tonight, one separate agenda item. There's 2 more tonight that you're going to hear us talk about, and there will probably be more in the future. So they truly are cleanup so that we can stay consistent, making sure that our general plan update is harmonized with everything else moving forward as we continue to build out the city. So with that, I will step back and let you all debate.
Thank you, Ms. Wilms, Mr. Porras, Mr.
Chair
Correa.
Duffel, I have one last question on this.
I was just going to turn it back over to you, Mr. Merhoff. Find out.
Explain to me, 5 stories high. I've always counted stories as being approximately 10 feet each. So you 5 stories high, and you're going to go 120 feet up. What are you putting up there on those 5 stories that you have to go 120 feet up? 120 feet up should be 12 stories high, and we're going to approve 12 stories high. I don't. Please explain to me this 5 stories and 120 feet first.
All right, who would like to take that question?
So this 5 stories is not citywide. It's not for hotels. It's not for residential. It's not for a standard house. It's only for industrial. And the reason it's 120 is because the industrial facilities are a little bit larger, higher than the standard 10 feet house. And you also have bigger equipment on top of the parapet that we need to cover. So the maximum is 120, meaning no AC unit, nothing on top of the building can actually protrude more than 120 feet. But this isn't a hotel, this isn't a residential, this is only for industrial buildings in the industrial zone. So I would make that clear. So yeah, the floors are a little bit taller than normal, just because it is an industrial use. It is not a residential commercial use. That is why they're estimated at 120.
You're the expert on this one, so I'll have to take your word for it. I just never seen a 5-story building with an additional, 50 feet, so we're talking 50, 70 feet. That's a lot of equipment up there.
Any other questions, Commissioner Merhoff?
No, I don't have any more. Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. Commissioner Grant, do you have any questions for staff right now?
Okay. Yes, I do. Thank you, Vice Chair. So let me just make sure I'm clear on this. Basically, what we're doing is this had to do with our general plan. We're basically, because these businesses already had transitioned, I'm going to say, into some type of expansion. This is just making it all congruent, right? Say yes, please. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. I just want to make sure.
For the most part, I don't want to say every single project is operational or in transition, but for the most part, these are projects that had already been discussed, land had already been purchased, and quite frankly, most, if not all of them, had submitted some sort of request to the city during the general plan update that it was found out after the fact, unfortunately, wasn't presented forward for consideration as part of that process. So it was, that's why we're doing this now, because it was not contemplated correctly.
Okay, and then we will see, that's what my next one, I think you had already answered that we will see additional, okay, thank you.
Each project would come before you as its own individual project with its own set of entitlements and environmentals. And even to Commissioner Meyerhoffen's point about the height, that would also be able to be contemplated with each individual project on a project by project basis by this commission.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner Grant. Ms. Wilms. Commissioner Nindell, do you have any questions of staff?
No, I don't for this one.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. At this time, we'll go ahead and open up the public hearing. Do we have anyone who is here to speak in favor of, opposed to, or neutral on this item?
We have Gerald McKenna who would like to speak on this item number 4. I will unmute.
Thank you very much, Mr. McKenna. Thank you for joining us this evening. We're on item number 4. We have you listed for public comment.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Would you please introduce yourself for the record?
My name is Gerald McKenna. I'm a resident of Desert Hot Springs.
Fantastic. Thank you, Mr. McKenna. We are on item number 4, and we are taking testimony from folks in the community for, opposed to, or neutral on this amendment.
Well, I'm opposed to one part of this amendment. I submitted some written comments today. Are they in the record yet?
I have not seen anything written sent to me. Let me go ahead and ask staff, have we received any correspondence on this item previous to the Planning Commission meeting this evening?
I don't see anything, Vice Chair. Looking on my emails, and I don't see anything from Mr. Gerald McKenna, or if there was a different email address.
Mr. McKenna, if you'd like to share your concerns now, now would be the time. We are open ears.
Yes, I was hoping I could be more brief. The issue I have is with the property on Hermano Way, which is currently zoned low density residential, and this amendment calls for it to become visitor serving commercial. And I object to this because this is the second time I've seen one of these go through the Planning Commission. This is not a cleanup. This is not a case of conflict. This is an outright change of zone and change the general plan. I object to this being called a cleanup of any kind. The property is low density residential, and it should stay that way. But the main issue I have with it is that it's currently operating as a performance venue, an outdoor performance venue, and it's a considerable nuisance to several people, including perhaps 200 people. I want to play this for you.
All right, everybody, make some noise for our host, Anna Molly. Make some noise for our incredible master dancer. We're on the keys. Enjoy, Dustin.
Now, I don't know if you heard that, but I recorded that at 1 a.m. on September 5th, which is a Sunday morning. And this is one of several occasions this year that there have been outdoor events held at that property. It's not a vacant lot. It's been developed as an outdoor performance venue under the guise of a landscaping project. It was taken through the city as a landscaping project. That recording reached 66 decibels at my property. And I live on Monterey Road. I live nearly 900 feet away from that property. So you can imagine what the noise was at the property line. And I can tell you that there are about 200 single family residences affected by what's going on there. I said in my written notes that I had complained to code compliance, which I have. I called them twice during that event, I've heard nothing back, not a word, no response of any kind from anybody at any time. And I think that this should not go through. It should be taken out of this action until the city has determined what's really going on there. And it looks a lot like a grant of special favor to a property owner on the basis of what? What does the public benefit? What do we get from it other than a nuisance? There's no public benefit for this zone change. All it does is put hundreds of people within range of a commercial activity. And it's a disgrace. It's not the first time the city's done this. I appeared before your commission 2 years ago and objected to Bubbling Wells Ranch having a similar conversion from low density residential to commercial. And you did it anyway, in spite of not giving proper notice and not following proper procedure. And I'm looking at the same thing happening again. And I'm really disappointed that the city of Desert Hot Springs operates this way. The citizens deserve better. The citizens deserve some public interest to be taken into account here. And I'm not seeing it happen. That's what I want to say.
Thank you very much, Mr. McKenna. We appreciate you taking the time to be here this evening to express yourself. Thank you very much. Is there any other public testimony on this item?
We have Russell Betts as an attendee with his hand up. I'm not sure if he wants to speak on this item or another, so I will unmute him.
Thank you very much. Councilman Betts, thank you for joining us this evening.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Good. Okay. So I'm taking a neutral position on this one. It might be coming to the council, but the question was raised about 120-foot height limit. And that would be in anybody's book, 12 stories, whether it's in an industrial area or anywhere else. And it's seeming to me that that's a pretty tall structure and seems to be quite out of the ordinary. And I just wasn't grasping the explanation that was offered. That's actually what piqued my interest as I'm listening to the meeting. So yes, we know it's 12 stories. I can't imagine anything on top of a 5-story building that's going to take it up to 120 feet, as Commissioner Meyerhoffen was noting. Basically, is it clear that this is the commission's being asked to approve a height limit of what everybody would think of as 12 stories? I don't know how you get 5 stories. There's no 5-story building that's got floors on the second, third, fourth, and fifth floor that are 28 or 30 feet tall. So I need a better, I would think there would be a better explanation would be offered on, just at least clarify, yes, 12-story building is what's the equivalent of a 12-story building is what's being proposed. And then I guess the commission would have to decide if they agree with that or don't agree with that. And of course would be free to say, yeah, we're okay with 12 stories. We just want to make sure that if a 12-story building goes in down the road and everybody says, how the heck did that get done? That all of you know that, you guys agreed to that. So again, I don't know if it's good or bad. I'm just trying to point out that the explanation to me didn't seem good. And I think, unless, somebody can correct me, that all of you are deciding right now whether or not you want a 12-story building anywhere in the city. And I just wanted to make sure that point was clear, because it just didn't seem to me like that was really being handled. So that's it. I have expressed no opinion on this. I'm just raising the question, and maybe somebody can clarify.
Thank you very much, Mr. Betts. I appreciate you calling in. Is there any more public comments on this item?
Nothing on Zoom.
Okay, fantastic. Well, considering the city is the applicant on this one, is there a staff member that would like to comment to any of the questions that were raised?
I would like to try to address a little bit more the height request that's being put forward. We're starting to see new industries express interest in the city of Desert Hot Springs, and not just cultivation, manufacturing, and distribution, not cannabis-related industries. And so in talking with some of the developers that have come in and actually met with staff, we're seeing in the case of distribution facilities, warehousing, that sort of stuff. They have innovative technologies that require more height in each floor for those types of buildings. And so in anticipation of some of that potential development, that is why staff brought this forward. Obviously, the planning commission, if there is, specific concern about getting to 12 stories high, there's options to say, do a height restriction to 5 stories or 120 feet. I mean, there's ways in which there could be some actual restrictions placed on the number of floors. But again, we're trying to anticipate ways to streamline the development process for new types of industries that have started expressing interest in our community.
Thank you very much, Doria. I know there was another question. I'm actually interested to see if staff has any answers for it in regards to the property on Hermano Way. We had a gentleman that played an audio recording for us just moments ago, and wanted to know if we had any information on that.
So that is the first time that I'm hearing that audio, and quite frankly, I'm concerned with that. I actually made a note and plan to discuss this further with our code enforcement department. And because at this point, nothing should be happening on that property. That property does not have a project on it. That property has 0 entitlements, and there is no zoning on that property that would allow for any type of use involving entertainment at this time. So that is highly concerning to me. And I will be diving into that with staff just as it relates to the video that he played. Now, with respect to the proposal before you all tonight, I mentioned earlier that during the general plan update, we were notified that there were several projects that had placed letters to be presented for contemplation during the general plan update. And this is one of those projects, which is why it was included and brought forward. So I see this as 2 separate things. One, it sounds like there's some issues on the site currently occurring on a site that doesn't have entitlements or project that we need to address. But we still have this project, the general plan update and zoning change before you all. And we would want Planning Commission to provide us direction on whether you all want to proceed with including that project in tonight or having us bring it back after we get some clarification on this other issue.
Thank you very much, Ms. Wilms. I appreciate your comments. At this time, we're going to go ahead and close the public hearing and open up Planning Commission discussion and questions of staff. Again, I'll go ahead and start off with Commissioner Merhoffen to open us up with discussion and questions of staff. Commissioner Merhoffen, if you're there.
There we go. I had to unmute myself. I can't see myself and I can't hear myself. The rough, you know what, it's been a long meeting, so I'm just going to save it for my general comments. It was in the agenda package, so I'm sure the commission has seen it. No comments, no questions at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Merhoffen. Commissioner Grant, do you have any discussion or questions of staff?
Just have some concerns about the public comment as far as I think if it's the right number, APN 656-150-003, going from residential load to visitor serving. That would be definite concern just in the community if there is actual activity on that property presently, and there's not supposed to be any, just all depending. And then the concern is with the height. I would love to see the community and the growth for everyone, jobs and everything, but in looking at the numbers from what it's saying and what I'm reading, it's just a concern for me that maybe we need to scale it down as far as stories is concerned, or actually have the accurate number as far as what feet are concerned. And so I guess we need to probably look at or impose a height restriction. Those are just my thoughts in an industrial area, just because, we have some great views here as well. And I think that would concern a lot of our residents. So those are just my thoughts and some things we should take into general consideration.
Thank you, Ms. Grant. Commissioner Nindell, do you have any comments or questions of staff?
I don't have any questions of staff, but to be honest, about the issue about the height we're paying a lot of attention to that one issue. Maybe such a height, maybe it could be scaled back a little, but I look at it, if we're a real cities have tall buildings. So what's the big deal? I don't have a problem with it. We need to move forward and plan for the future. And if this is a possibility in the future, then why not? Who cares? It's in the industrial area.
Thank you very much.
May I say something?
Thank you.
Vice Chair?
Well, Commissioner Grant, go ahead.
My concern is the numbers, though. That's, if we go back to that, the accuracy of the numbers. Now, I could be wrong because I'm looking at a conversion table while I'm doing this, and it looks like the numbers just aren't accurate as far as what I'm looking at. So I'm just saying, if the numbers were accurate, I would be more willing to discuss this further. The numbers just don't look accurate, and if somebody can bring clarity for me as what equals what, that would really be great. As far as feet equaling 5 stories, 120 feet, that's not what I'm looking at, and 2 stories equaling 50 feet, that's not accurate.
Fantastic. Thank you, Commissioner Grant. I might be able to bring some clarification to that. I do kind of have a tendency to agree a little bit about the 120 feet being a little bit high. We talk about our mountain views, our gorgeous views from Desert Hot Springs, but at the same time, we've all taken pride in how our city is advancing, both physically and economically, and that we've really been able to move into the 21st century and bring Desert Hot Springs up a long ways from what it has been. If we need to make some adjustments on the 120-foot height limit, I might be open to reducing that a little bit. But at the same time, we have to take into account, we are seeing new types of businesses coming in. We're seeing businesses evolving. We're seeing machinery being developed and changing and needing more space, some of it needing less space. I know typically Commissioner Merhoffen was talking 10 foot per story. And under normal circumstances, that would be pretty accurate. If we were building a condominium complex or a hotel or someplace like that, you can get away with having 10-foot ceilings. When you're talking about most industrial warehouses that you walk into, you're looking at around 15 to 20-foot ceilings because there's a lot of large equipment that has to be moved around within a very tight space. So I think what staff is looking at in regards to the 5 stories and 120 feet is to be able to allow for this new equipment and these new types of businesses to be able to come into Desert Hot Springs where they haven't been able to before because our codes haven't allowed for it. The staff bringing this to us as it is, again, I said, if you feel like 120 feet is too high and you want to bring that down a little bit, I'm not necessarily opposed. However, we do have to take into consideration that there's a lot of technology and a lot of development that we have yet to lay our own eyes on, that our staff has gotten to see, whether it be printouts or actually visiting a location and seeing this equipment that is being used. And, if the space is required for it and we want the business to come here, then we need to accommodate for those types of businesses to come in with space. With that being said, is there any further discussion? Start off with Commissioner Merhoffen.
Yes, sir, there is. I was trying to make the meeting a little faster, but there's some other height on commercial and residential. Our forefathers of this city never allowed 2-story residential housing because they wanted to preserve the views. Now we're going to build 120 feet up in the air, and the project that was over there on Carroll Street is you'll have people looking down into the residential area. It's not this commission I'm worried about. I'm serving on this commission. It's the next one I might not be serving on. That this whole height limits would have probably just gotten bypassed if I hadn't caught it and was almost 3,000 pages here that we had to go through, and I had the time to skim through it. So it's the fact that normally you don't encroach on the residential lots. You build new buildings on the empty lots in the commercial zone and the zoning where this is already allowed. So what are we really doing here by, we're helping out a few business owners, sure, but the long run is, what are we doing for traffic also when you start building 12-story buildings or whatever? How will you even get that many workers on our streets? We already have a problem with traffic. So it's my understanding, I believe, that this is still going to go before the city council to have the last say so on this. That's correct, right?
Yeah, that is correct.
Okay. So I'm not going to say any more. That's where I'm at with this one, basically.
Thank you, Commissioner Merhoff. And Commissioner Grant, do you have anything else you'd like to add?
Mr. Vice Chair, can I interrupt real quick? I'm looking at the staff report. If you guys look at
one moment, Mr. Porres. Let's go ahead and I called on Commissioner Grant. Let's go ahead and hear from her first, and I'll come back to you.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I really would just like to have clarity, if I could, for just numbers, if you don't mind. And I think for all of us, just to be consistent with what we are approving, I totally agree with everyone. Well, not everyone, but I totally agree with the expansion for our community. We need infrastructure. We need businesses. We need jobs. That is one of our major focal points here with the youth. They need somewhere to go when they graduate high school and going into college. We need to look at some type of employment for them. So, and we need to think about, we're always discussing, okay, property values and things like that. We need to look at that. We want a safe community. So I just want to know, if we're allowing certain businesses to come in, jobs coming in that are housing, I just want to know what, how, and how many feet that we're looking at, how many stories. I would like to hear the other businesses outside of cannabis, as far if it's not cannabis, as far as distribution is concerned, because to my knowledge, I don't believe distribution requires that many stories. But if they are having other licensing, it's quite possible that they will need that type of space. So I'm open, and I would like to hear if somebody can just really address that for me. What is the actual feet for the stories?
Thank you, Commissioner Grant. Mr. Porres, if you wouldn't mind, I think you were getting ready to touch base on Commissioner Merhoffen's comments. I don't know if you would like to touch base on Commissioner Grant's as well, but if you'd like to touch base on Commissioner Merhoffen's, I'm open to that now.
Yeah, thank you very much, Vice Chair. Just a basic comment on item 2. Today, the Planning Commission approved a 2-story industrial building with a height of 35 feet. That's 2-story, 35 feet. That is for cultivation. That's about 14 feet at ceiling with the parapet. If you divide that, multiply, it's about 90 feet for 5 stories. If you give it another 4 feet, then you already round up to already 100. We rounded it up to 120 just to give that leeway and to be able to have that extra height clearance. And it wasn't that we did it. It was more of concerns that we've had or explanation that we've had from architects that are designing industrial buildings, not the city staff, none of that. We're no way experts in that industry, but we just rely on what they're telling us. Now, even today's only had a 35. In my experience, I wouldn't even know that number. These are numbers that we received. So maybe that'll give you a little bit numbers of as to industrial buildings and the high clearance that they do need for the equipment they use. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Porres. Commissioner Merhoffen, did you have any other questions based off of Mr. Porres's response? I believe you're still muted, Commissioner Merhoffen.
You're going to need a ladder truck. The minute you approve it, it'll take you about 3 years to build something like that. 120, maybe 5 years, but you're going to need a ladder truck at that time, and that's just something that I want to bring to everybody's attention. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Merhoffen. Commissioner Grant, was Mr. Porres able to kind of clarify some of that for you?
I believe so. So it's based on height clearance that you give a little bit of additional feet just in case it runs over a little bit, so you can stay within the parameters, correct? Okay.
Yeah, that's based on information that we were given. Again, it's more of the industry obviously changes, but the industry and industrial distribution, that was what the numbers that we were given, and that's the numbers that we presented today for the industrial area.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Grant and Mr. Porres. Commissioner Nindell, do you have anything that you would like to add?
No, nothing else.
Okay, at this time, I will go ahead and ask if anyone would like to make a motion. We are on item number 4. Staff recommends that the Planning Commission make a recommendation that the City Council approve General Plan Amendment number 21-2, Zone Change number 21-1, Zoning Ordinance Amendment number 21-1, and adoption of a General Plan Update EIR Addendum. Do I have a
make a motion?
Okay, Commissioner Merhoffen?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to not approve the agenda item.
Okay, we have a motion on the table to deny item number 4. Do I have a second? Hearing no second, the motion fails. Do I have any other motions on the table?
I'll make a motion to approve.
As presented by staff, Commissioner Nindell?
Yeah, I mean, unless somebody wants to add something about lowering it to 100 feet maybe instead of 120, I have no problem with it.
If you withdraw your motion, I'll make that motion. Or unless you want to change your motion.
I'll withdraw that.
Okay, Commissioner Nindell withdraws his motion. Commissioner Grant, you said that you would like to make a motion?
Yes, I'll make let me see if I can get this. I'd like to make a motion to approve, where is it? The General Plan Amendment with, okay, if I get this, General Plan Amendment number 21-2, Zone Change number 21-1, and the Zoning Ordinance Amendment 21-1, and hopefully I'm going to get this correctly. And make sure that we make a condition in here that we don't, the maximum height will be 100 feet and not to exceed more than 7 stories. So with that, or 5 to 7 stories. And an adoption of the General Plan Update EIR Addendum. And I hope that's worded correctly.
I'm going to read it back to you so that I can get clarification before we move on to the second. I believe your motion is to make a recommendation that the City Council approve General Plan Amendment number 21-2, Zone Change number 21-1, Zoning Ordinance Amendment number 21-1, and adoption of the General Plan Update EIR Addendum, with the modification being a maximum building height of 100 feet or 5 stories.
Yes, I probably should have written that down before I said it, but yes.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, may we have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Grant?
Aye.
Commissioner Merhoffen?
No.
Commissioner Nindell?
Yes.
Vice Chair Duffel?
Aye.
Motion passes with Commissioner Merhoffen in opposition.
Thank you very much. On to item number 5, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Desert Hot Springs, amending Chapter 17.84, Development Agreements, text, in order to harmonize the text with the approved review authority table 17.64.01 adopted by Ordinance 712 in May 2020 while updating the zoning for the 2020 general plan amendment. May we have a staff report, please?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Vice Chair, members of the commission. The title actually, I think says it all. Basically, as Ms. Wilms kind of pointed out before, as we have the general plan now kind of under our hats for a little bit over a year, we have been kind of coming up with some fixes that need to be had, and so. In adopting the general plan amendment, the city also adopted Ordinance 712, which is also in your packet. It's very long. You don't necessarily have to read it. It was just that I wanted it in there for the record to show you kind of where we're amending. And that Ordinance 712 amended various chapters of the municipal code and also as well as several tables. And that said, some of the text of the municipal code, the text itself where we write out the sentences, was never updated to reflect certain amendments that were provided by Ordinance 712. So in particular, this ordinance in table 17.64.01, that table provides that the city council is the body who reviews and approves the development agreements. And accordingly, this ordinance merely updates the actual text of chapter 17.84 to comply with the already adopted review authority table 17.64.01. That concludes my staff report. I'm happy to answer any questions, but it is a cleanup of the text, the wording to harmonize with the already approved table.
Thank you very much, Ms. Mizrahi. Commissioner Merhoffen, do you have any questions of staff?
I was a little confused about all that on this one here, after getting through all the first ones we went through. But that was a great explanation of what it's about. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Merhoffen. Commissioner Grant, do you have any questions?
No, not at this time. Thank you, Vice Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Grant. Commissioner Nindell?
No, I don't.
Thank you very much. We'll go ahead and open the public hearing. Is there anyone who wishes to speak on this item?
We have no one on Zoom.
Fantastic. No reason to rebut. We'll go ahead and close the public hearing and entertain questions and discussion from Planning Commission to staff. Commissioner Merhoffen, do you have any discussion or questions of staff?
No, I don't.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Merhoffen. Commissioner Grant?
Not at this time.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Grant. Commissioner Nindell?
No, I don't.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Nindell. At this time, I would be open to taking a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the agenda, what is it, 5? Agenda item number 5?
Item 5, Commissioner Merhoffen, you're making a motion to recommend to the City Council that it adopt an ordinance of the City Council, the City of Desert Hot Springs, amending Chapter 17.84 Development Agreements text in order to harmonize the text with the approved review authority table 17.64.01 adopted by Ordinance 712 in May 2020 while updating the zoning for the 2020 general plan amendment. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Fantastic. Thank you, Commissioner Merhoffen. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
We have a second from Commissioner Nindell. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Grant?
Aye.
Commissioner Merhoffen?
Yes.
Commissioner Nindell?
Yes.
Vice Chair Duffel?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. On to item number 6. An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Desert Hot Springs, amending Chapter 17.180, marijuana facilities operation and location text in order to harmonize the text with the approved land use tables adopted by Ordinance 712 in May of 2020, while updating the zoning for the 2020 General Plan Amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. I'll provide the staff report, kind of deja vu. So we also realized in kind of the workings that although the land use tables were all updated back in 2020 pursuant to the general plan, yet again, some of the text of the actual chapter 17.180, which is pretty much our marijuana facilities chapter, did not get updated to mirror the actual land use and the land use table. So the tables that we're talking about that were updated was table 17.12.01, which is permitted uses for commercial and visitor serving districts, table 17.14.01, which is permitted uses for mixed use districts, and table 17.16.01, which is permitted uses for industrial districts. And so what I did here is I took the marijuana facilities chapter and I updated it literally to mirror the already approved and already updated land use table solely with respect to marijuana facilities. That concludes my staff report. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So the staff's recommendation is that the Planning Commission hold a public hearing and recommend to the City Council that it adopt an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Desert Hot Springs, amending Chapter 17.180, marijuana facilities, operation and location text in order to harmonize the text with the approved land use tables adopted by Ordinance 712 in May 2020, while updating the zoning for the 2020 General Plan Amendment. Is there any questions of staff? Commissioner Meyerhoffen?
No.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Meyerhoffen. Commissioner Grant?
Not at this time, no. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Grant. Commissioner Nindell?
No, I don't.
Very good. Since there is no questions, do we have any public comments? We'll go ahead and open the public comments and see if we have.
We have Councilmember Betts on Zoom, but I don't know if he wants to speak on something else or he is just listening, so I'll unmute.
Okay. Mr. Betts, we are on item 6. Do you have anything to comment on this one, sir? Mr. Betts, if you can unmute yourself, we're on item number 6. Do you have anything that you would like to speak on, sir? Okay, sounds like not, or he has left. So let's go ahead and close the public comments if there's no one else, and open up discussion and questions of staff. Does anyone have any discussion or questions of staff? We'll start with Commissioner Meyerhoffen.
No.
Thank you, Commissioner Meyerhoffen. Commissioner Grant?
Would you mind coming back to me, please?
Sure. No problem. Commissioner Nindell?
No, I don't have any questions on this one.
Okay, very good. I'm going to go ahead and read this one more time to give Commissioner Grant an opportunity to chime in here in just a moment. Again, this is item number 6. The recommendation is that the Planning Commission hold a public hearing and recommend to the City Council that it adopt an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Desert Hot Springs, amending Chapter 17.180, marijuana facilities operation and location text in order to harmonize the text with the approved land use tables adopted by Ordinance 712 in May 2020, while updating the zoning for the 2020 General Plan Amendment. I'm going to go ahead and come back to you, Commissioner Grant.
Okay, no, I have nothing at this time. Thank you. I just needed to skim through. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Commissioner Grant. Having no questions or discussion, would anyone like to make a motion?
Wait.
Okay, we don't have a
Mayor.
motion on the floor yet. Commissioner Grant.
So this is an amended. So this added provisions for, let's say, testing, because I don't recall, or okay, consumption was included. If may I ask? Okay.
Sure.
Okay.
So consumption wasn't included. There's nothing new in here at all with respect to anything new since 2020. All we're doing here is we're literally just taking the tables that were already approved and conforming the text when we actually draft the text of what it looks like. And the text kind of explains how we approve those, and amending the text just to conform with the actual land use tables. So there was nothing that was new added. We're not adding any kind of uses or anything like that. It's just literally to help merge, if you will. I like the word harmonize, but to make the table and the text comply with each other.
Overstood. Thank you.
All right. Are there any other questions or comments that the commission would like to make? Or do we have a motion?
I have to repeat the whole thing, or can I just make a motion to approve agenda item number 6?
You would like to make a motion to approve staff's recommendation?
Sure, on agenda item number 6. We are on 6, right? Okay.
Yes,
I'd
sir.
like to make a motion to approve staff's recommendation on agenda item number 6.
Fantastic. Thank you, Commissioner Hoffman. We have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
All right, Commissioner Nindell with a second. Is there any discussion?
No.
Hearing none, can we get a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Grant,
Aye.
Commissioner Merhoffen,
Yes?
Commissioner Nindell,
Yes.
Vice Chair Duffel.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you very much. On to item number 7. An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Desert Hot Springs, California, adding section 16.24.095 SB9 parcel map standards, and 2, amending certain sections of the chapter 17.08 residential districts in order to comply with Senate Bill 9. Can we have a staff report, please?
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair and members of the Planning Commission. Can you see my share screen before I proceed?
I see that we are on slide 1 currently.
Okay, so this item in front of you, it's not a cleanup as the last two. This is actually the introduction of a new section, and that is section that you mentioned, 16.24.095. And this has to do with a state mandate, and that's State Bill 9, which is the parcel map standard. As you know, the state is going through a lot of lack of housing. So SB 9 was presented by Senator Atkins, and the governor signed this on September 16 of 2021. It becomes effective on January 1st, 2022. It is referred to urban lot splits, and what that means is that no more than 2 residential units can be developed per lot, per new lot and existing lot. And I'll explain that in a minute. The bill also states that this has to be a ministerial review, meaning that it is at staff level and that there is no discretionary review or public hearing. What that means is that these urban lot splits cannot come to the Planning Commission for a decision. That's essentially what it means. There are requirements, and the requirements are listed here on this slide. And I am not going to go through all of them. It's quite a lengthy slide. But essentially what it says is that cities have to process these urban lot splits administratively, like I said. There are certain requirements that have to be met. One of them that is here on the screen is that the new units or any unit cannot be rented, that has to be rented for more than 30 consecutive days. Another one of the things that the state looked at so that no existing housing gets demolished, and that's this section here, where it says that demolition of more than 25% of the existing exterior structural walls cannot be demolished in order for these applications to be processed administratively and be approved. What it does is that it tells cities that these applications have to be done at staff level. And let me tell you what that means. For existing single family lots, your typical single family residential, if somebody wants to subdivide it, they can submit an application to subdivide it. The bill says that no more than 2 units per lot. So what that means is that if I subdivide my property, single family, I could have 2 units in the front lot or 2 units on the back lot. It can be a combination of a JDU, an ADU, or the main dwelling unit, but in no event it cannot be more than 2 units per lot, a maximum of 4 units of each existing single family lot. And I hope that makes sense. If not, I'll try to clarify it. Our ordinance will comply with the state as far as building setbacks in the side and on the rear, and those are 4 feet maximum building setbacks for any new structures created through the SB 9. Our zoning code will refer to those as SB 9 single family dwelling unit. I'd like to know that this is only applicable for single family and not for multifamily zoning designations. Our multifamily zoning designations will not qualify for the SB 9 urban lot split. Again, we are just kind of mirroring what the state has mandated to all the cities. This becomes effective again by the state on January 1st of 2022, and we will be in accordance with the state mandate should the Planning Commission recommend to the City Council that this be approved. So with that, the Planning Commission wants to recommend to the City Council that it adopts the following, and that is an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Desert Hot Springs, California, adding section 16.24.095, referred to as SB 9 parcel map standards, and number 2, amending certain sections of Chapter 17.08 residential districts in order to comply with Senate Bill 9. That concludes my presentation and will be available to answering the questions the Commission may have.
Thank you very much, Rio. I'm only going to ask one question. You did answer it already, but I'm going to ask it anyways, just so that everybody hears for clarification. This particular recommendation, ordinance recommendation, is to put the City of Desert Hot Springs in compliance with SB 9 when SB 9 goes into effect, correct?
That is correct, sir.
All right, thank you very much. We will go ahead and open up questions of staff from the Commission. Commissioner Meyerhoffen, do you have any questions of staff?
Yes, the part where it read that the homeowner had to live in the residence for 3 years. I read it kind of different, that it was, anyways, can you explain that 3-year part? I thought the state was saying that you had to have already been there for 3 years before you could do this. But it seems as if though the city is saying that after you do it, you have to wait another additional 3 years. So I'm a little confused on that one. And
if I may, Mr. Chair, members of the Commission, let me read to you specifically what the bill states, rather than trying to kind of analyze it. And by the way, of course, this bill just came down, so we don't have any analysis or case law or anything like that. So let me just read to you what it states. And this is coming from the legislative office, the analyst's office. The bill would require an applicant to sign, hold on, I have to make it a little bigger. I can't be a little too small. Okay. The bill would require an applicant to sign an affidavit stating that they intend to occupy one of the housing units as their principal residence for a minimum of 3 years from the date of the approval of the urban lot split. And it goes on to state, unless the applicant is a community land trust, and there's a few other little exceptions. So I hope that answers your question. It says from the date of the approval of the urban lot split.
Thank you. That does answer the question.
Thank you.
My next question is, who came up with the 800 square feet?
That was the state. We're following essentially what the state is mandating.
They're mandating the 800 square feet?
Yeah, the state mandated that, and we have to follow that, and our ordinance will follow it.
Okay. If you have to do it, you have to do it. I'm a single guy, so 800 square feet is still a little bit large of a house. But anyhow, and there's people who like to have the yard space rather than the house. That's why I was asking that. And if this could be ADU unit. I was looking at an ADU and it didn't look like it was 800 square feet that was building here in town. So our zoning now for an ADA unit is 800 square feet or smaller?
No, there are two different bills, two different ordinances that the city would have throughout the state. The ADU ordinance is still applicable. This is a urban lot split or a subdivision. The ADU will still be applicable.
Okay, but what about the square footage?
What the state is saying is that
so the ADU unit would have to be 800 square feet if you build two of them on there, or if you build one ADU unit under the city's codes, it has to be how many square feet?
A maximum of 1,200 square feet for an ADU, but it cannot be less than 800 square feet under the urban lot split.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, Commissioner Merhoffen?
No, sir.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Grant.
I have none, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Grant. Commissioner Nindell?
Nothing.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Nindell. We'll go ahead and open the public comments. Do we have any public comments on this item?
We do not have any new comments.
Thank you very much. We'll go ahead and close the public comments and open up commission discussion and questions of staff or entertain a motion. We'll start with Commissioner Merhoffen. Commissioner Merhoffen, do you have any discussion or any other questions of staff?
No.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Grant?
Just one. We don't happen to have any designated landmark historical property within the city. Just asking.
I believe that we do, but I'll refer that to either Mr. Porras or Ms. Wilms. I believe that we have at least two that I can think of, and those are the stone houses. I believe that's what they are referred to. But the answer would be yes, we do.
That is correct. And just to bounce off of Mr. Carrillo, yeah, we do have some that are designated as historical sites.
Thank you, Mr. Carrillo and Mr. Porras. Commissioner Grant, do you have any other questions?
Not at this time. Thank you. They answered.
Thank you, Commissioner Grant. Commissioner Nindell?
No, I don't.
Very good. At this time, if you'd like to make a motion, we'll go ahead and entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion.
Okay, Commissioner Grant, your motion would be?
We're going to approve staff's recommendation to add an ordinance. Add section 16.24.095 SB9 parcel map standards and amend certain sections of chapter 17.08 residential districts in order to comply with Senate Bill 9.
And that's to make a recommendation to City Council, correct?
Yes, please.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Grant. We have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Commissioner Nindell seconds. Do we have any discussion?
No.
Hearing none, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Grant,
Aye.
Commissioner Merhoffen,
Yes.
Commissioner Nindell,
Yes.
Vice Chair Duffel.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you very much. We're going to go ahead and go back to public comments, open public comments back up. We had a couple of folks in the beginning of the meeting that appeared to be registered for public comments, but were not available. I'd like to go back and see if there's anyone registered for public comments that would like to speak on anything that is not on tonight's agenda.
I do not have any other registrants.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. We'll go ahead and close the public comments and move on to Chair and Planning Commission member reports. I'd just like to say this evening was a good meeting. I really appreciate all of the effort that my fellow commissioners have put in, all of the effort that staff has put in, and I definitely appreciate all of the community members that phoned in or joined us via Zoom to participate in tonight's meeting. That's what keeps us moving in the right direction. The right direction is that the direction that the people want. I like to thank everyone here this evening for putting their best foot forward and having an A+ meeting. With that being said, Commissioner Merhoffen, do you have any reports that you would like to express?
Yes, thanks for leading a great meeting. I would like to request I could meet with one member of staff there. I think Mr. Perez would be the one to go over the landscaping. It's one way to beautify this city. I've been saying it for 20 years. You got to put trees and landscaping in, and people will overlook the rest of the stuff because it just looks good. So, having said that, that's it for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Merhoffen. Mr. Perez, can I assume that you'll be shooting an email out to Commissioner Merhoffen to try and connect?
That is correct.
Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate that. Commissioner Grant, do you have any reports this evening?
Just that I would like to see the home. Oh, well, thank you for a great meeting. First of all, it's been really a long night. Cold and windy, and I don't know if anybody else is getting this wonderful weather that I'm getting because my signal is crazy. But I would like to have added the home occupancy permit back on the agenda. I would like to see that so we could discuss that. I'd just like to see that back on the agenda as soon as possible. If staff could contact me or if we could get that back.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Grant. And with Commissioner Grant's statements, I'll go ahead and speak up myself and echo her comments. I'll join Ms. Grant in liking to see that come forward so that we can take a look at it. Commissioner Nindell.
I don't have anything, no.
Fantastic. Well, thank you, everyone. Let's go ahead and go to the Community Development Director report.
Currently, I have nothing to report. I think you guys had great questions. We are most definitely open to having our staff answer any questions about our processes and procedures. I think it's great. The pre-meeting we had was really good and constructive, and we look forward to working closer with you guys, and we're here for any questions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Besserell. At this time,
Chair Duffel, really quickly, if I may, I am going to bring Eric up to speed on the home occupation permit. While we are in the presence of this meeting, I will say that we've had some internal discussion. There were some unintended consequences. We will bring it back to discuss that and ways in which we think we can improve upon that item. So we'll bring Eric up to speed and get that back over to you all for discussion as soon as possible. And you all have a happy holiday season.
thank you very much, Ms. Well. At this point, the meeting is adjourned. I'd like to wish you all happy holidays. Have a good evening. Thank you.
Same to you all.